Well, do you think in the Philippines that, the gay community is accepted or is it tolerated?
Kind of a lot of people who it doesn't even affect are like jumping on the bandwagon to like bash people about. It's like, that's a big topic. That's a big topic. Because when I was cheated on, I was like, this makes no sense. Like somebody's like winking at me from across the bar. I'm like, damn. Always be safe, guys. No joke. The threat is real.
Please welcome Zach.
Thanks so much for coming, Zach.
No problem.
Thank you. And thank you again for guesting us with and blessing us with your presence. And for today's video, we just really wanted to discuss and just get insights on your experience here in the Philippines and just your trajectory from when you first came here and until now.
Yeah. So for people who haven't seen the TikTok,
are you single or are you taken? Taken.
Zach is he's a member of the LGBTQ community who's a foreigner here who lives here in the Philippines. He's been living here on and off for 6 years.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we just wanted to get your opinions on stuff because there's not a lot of LGBT or gay foreigners here in the Philippines, right? Who live here?
More than you think.
More.
They are.
There's a lot more.
I don't know a lot,
They fly under the radar.
I'm saying maybe like I said, I don't know a lot of, so maybe it just doesn't not a lot. I assume our audience wouldn't know a lot of gay foreigners either, right? So it'd be interesting to get your opinions and your experiences here. So you mentioned off camera that your first coming out was actually coming out here in the Philippines.
Yeah.
You were never out anywhere else.
No, yeah. Mostly because I had no reason to before.
Oh.
And my sex life was very compartmentalized. And but then when I met someone and had the reason to come out, to kind of introduce them to friends and family, and then it was I kind of need to do this now.
I see. Do you think that if you were in a different country, living on and off in a different country, that would have happened sooner, or?
Honestly, I think coming here and moving away from my life before.
Yeah.
But even then, it took 5 years for me.
Well,
But again, it was so it wasn't until I had a real reason in my head.
So it's not really about the Philippines specifically. It's just about
the
that
person.
I think it had not. It's not the Philippines maybe, but maybe moving away from where I grew up.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Because I grew up in the same place really till I was from 3 till I was about 24 when I came here. So I kind of lived and worked around there even when I left school. I didn't do university or anything like that. I went straight to work. So I was in the same place, and then so Philippines was really my first move away from home entirely.
I see.
Gotcha. And since you came out, have you gone back home and hey y'all?
Not since I came out, but
Hey guys.
By the way.
Surprise.
No.
But no, I did I came out. I made a decision because of some other complicated reasons. I was go and get it done. So I sent a message to my family in the family group WhatsApp message saying this is the deal. We don't need to talk about it. And then also on the same day, so within an hour, I came out to my family, most of my close friends back home. Most of my close friends here. Within an hour, I was done. I was stressed over.
Just email blast.
Basically, yeah. It was I pretty much copy and pasted the message between them all.
And how was the reaction from your family? Was it negative? Was it
Did some people did they have bets? They're I knew it, or nothing like that?
Loads of people, I found that really annoying, honestly. I was well, you didn't know. They were like, oh, we always know. I was like, no, you didn't. You suspected, but you couldn't know.
Yeah, that's a good.
Even I didn't.
A little offending,
I was honestly, even I wasn't 100% sure. So, for you to know is ridiculous.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's even now I'm I relate to being bi,
Okay.
But I don't know if that's just like the aftermath of being closeted for so long. Whether I don't think it is.
Yeah,
I mean, I still sleep with women.
Yeah.
I still enjoy sleeping with women, but I don't know if that's like a
It's because
convincing
of,
myself thing.
yeah.
I'm still working that all out.
Yeah, that's why I was a little like hesitant in my introduction. I wasn't sure what to say. It's like, because you don't seem so sure of it either.
LGBT community works for me.
Okay.
I navigate. That's how. It's like when people say, "Oh, you're going to a gay bar," I'm like, "No, that's like a girly bar for gays." I'm going to LGBT bar, and people here take that really seriously. Like when I was like, "Oh, is it a gay bar?" and they were like, "No, it's an LGBT bar." I'm like, sorry.
Okay.
I'm a baby gay. I'm a baby gay. Like, be kind.
I'm still trying to figure shit out.
Oh man.
That must be confusing.
But that's literally a thing though. Like I read it because when I came out, so like somebody once told me, like a grief counsellor, they were like, "You're an intellectual griever." I'm like, fair. Like I have to think shit through. So before I came out, like I found this book, The Psychology of Gay Men, and I was like, I have to understand this before I commit to this sort of thing.
Once you're in,
That's
you're
good.
in.
That's good. You
That's
thought
really
about
good.
it. You thought about your decision making.
And after I finished reading that book, I was like, gonna have to like get this over and done with now. And then literally within an hour, I sent the blast messages to all of them.
So would you recommend that book for other people thinking about it?
I mean, it has a really dark outlook on things, but it's very honest.
Okay.
It's very realistic. I mean, it's a psychologist who spent his entire life treating specifically just gay men, and he's like, through seeing like thousands of people, he's like come up with like a basic a model of psychology that most if not all gay men go through. And it was very interesting because I was reading it, I was like, fuck, that is so true. And like if it wasn't me, it was someone I knew, and like a lot of it's not that great, honestly. I mean, like when people say like it's harder, it's like there's definitely a lot of like neurology and psychology that like sets you up to not succeed as easily. Things like modeling, like you don't have the modeling of a gay parents to like from when you're a kid to model your relationships over. So there's like a huge amount of power struggle in gay men relationships.
That's really a good like
because like the normal roles that you grew up with, they no longer apply.
Huh.
You seem like you're going through some development there.
No. I'm just like, it just makes sense, you know, like it really makes a lot of sense.
Because that's what we were talking about, like before this, like here in the Philippines, like most of the the community people that I know, it seems like there's a lack of information here. Like when people make decisions, I'm like, okay, I don't know, are you sure? But because when they say things, I'm like, well, that doesn't, it kind of contradicts. So I'm like,
It's super counterintuitive.
You know,
a lot of the time.
So maybe I'm
the
just
logic
like
they grew up
confused.
with versus the logic they now have to have is very different.
There's also a logic of like you're growing up with. I mean, the reason why people are in a closet is fear of rejection, because evolutionary wise, rejection means death, and your brain's wired to survive, not thrive. And so social rejection and shame. So they call it like toxic shame, where like a piece of your identity that feels shameful, like you identify with so much like your sexuality, and then that becomes internalized and that becomes toxic, which then like erodes a lot of it, becomes quite subconscious, your behavior. People they're not consciously thinking I'm gonna cheat on you. Like it just like they feel insecure, they feel defensive, so they seek elsewhere as a defense mechanism.
Exactly.
Speaking of cheating, like because
That's a big topic.
No.
That's a big topic.
I mean, that's like, I mean, just like cheating in relationship wise, because like there is a stigma around like, you know, the relationships between like, I don't say, between men and men, or female and female, and there's like, again, this stigma, this is based off people who are not in the community. They're like, oh, you know, they fuck around too much, and they're like, I've heard someone say that gay couples they don't have what it takes to be faithful between one another. What's your opinion on that? Do you think that?
I think from everything I like, because again, intellectualizing, like read up on it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, because it didn't make, for it to make sense to me, if I can understand it, I can accept it.
Yeah.
And with like gay men and gay women, it's very different. So gay women tend to lean towards enmeshment, where like their lives are way too intertwined, and gay men lean towards, although certainly like this is not everyone, but a lot of gay men lean towards hyper independence, where they refuse to be too attached or too reliant on anyone, because again the culture that you're existing in, because you have to also remember, like, when you come out, it's like being a teenager at school again for heterosexuals.
Yeah.
It's like you're navigating relationships that matter to you for the first time.
Yeah.
And so it's like being at school. And like honestly, I've even intellectualizing it, I'm like looking at some of my behavior, I'm like, that is definitely not very mature.
Yeah.
Like, hindsight's a beautiful thing. I'm like, in my head whilst I'm behaving, I'm like, this is not good.
They did like a research paper on couples. This includes same-sex couples and heterosexual couples. And what they found was that like they had a number of measurement data points, but like same-sex couples that were men, they cared a lot more about appearances, versus same-sex couples that were women, which cared a lot less.
Emotions.
And then which cared about more emotions. And then there was like a measure of how many times people have sex in the week. And same-sex couples, men have it like all the time. And then there's heterosexual couples, and then there's the same-sex women couples. So it shows that there's a different dynamic completely.
I mean, that's just like...
And that was just between...
As physical beings,
Yeah.
evolutionary-wise, we're designed differently.
Exactly.
And I totally had to get into this also, because when I was cheated on, I was like, this makes no sense. So I'm going to have to figure this out with research.
Okay.
But they're evolutionary-wise, like... men are designed to sow the seed as far as possible, far and wide. So, I mean, even like physically, we can have sex more often, and we have the drive to have sex more often, and so like, and that's why when it's two men and with minimal risk. I mean, obviously, Philippines, HIV pandemic. Always be safe, guys. No joke. The threat is real. But evolutionary wise, like, you're being pregnant makes you vulnerable. So like, and so there's a lot more reason to not have sex, and that I think mitigates the highest. Which, I mean, some women have much higher sex drive than the men they're with. Also, like that's not uncommon either. But the risk is much lower. The perceived risk is much lower, and the rate of sex. I mean, like, I've previously, when I segmented my life quite significantly, there was large, copious amounts of numbers I'm not willing to admit on here, but it was. And I also read a book about that called Cruise Control, Understanding Sex Addiction in Gay Men, which very interesting. But and that's super common also for gay men to like, because sex is like a shortcut to a feeling of closeness. Because like, again, and that's why it can be an addiction, because neurochemically you're getting hits of neurochemicals that are addictive, like you're getting dopamine. You're getting what's the one that's like the love one? Oxytocin, and that, so you get that hit without having to be vulnerable. So sex gives you that, which is why sex addiction exists.
That makes sense.
But in terms of the quantity that men, that's why it's like they can have sex a lot more, they can have it a lot quicker, there's a lot less. I mean, like, that's why cruising is a thing for gay men and not really for gay women. Where in bathrooms, in like, I mean, and it's weird, honestly. Like, I had no idea about any of this when I first came out, and I was like, this shit's real. I'm like, somebody's like winking at me from across the bar. I'm like, damn. And they're like nodding towards the bathroom. I'm like,
oh wow. Well, Zach, one thing I wanted to talk about with you is the
main topic at hand.
No, because like I remember you showed us the TikTok video, right? Where you were in that Pride event.
My 5 seconds of fame.
Yeah.
Infamy.
Sorry about that in advance. But no, because like one thing we were talking about that was also shown in that video, and I've noticed a lot, not even here, but just like in the LGBTQ community, was when like there was a part of the show or whatever that they were like touching you and stuff. And
Souvenir. Let's give others souvenir.
And I always notice, like, let's say with some of my gay friends or like with my trans friends, like let's say there's a guy and then they touch them or vice versa. I was like, but that isn't really okay, right? Because if it was the other way around, let's say a guy is groping a girl, that's considered like sexual harassment,
Or
vice
a girl
versa.
goes
Or vice versa, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've noticed with like, because that was like in a public manner, right? You were on stage, and I guess they didn't think anything of it if they're going to do it so publicly. So what do you think about that?
It's something I've like learned to navigate in terms of like coming from like not being in the LGBT community at all, really. I mean, like again, like my sex life was so separated that I was never engaging in any other social form before coming out, and now like the Philippines LGBT community, I don't think it's that different from other LGBT communities, but I mean there's obviously nuances, but the touchy-feely thing shocked me a few times, honestly, like in bars and stuff. I mean, I don't know how graphic you want this to become, but I mean there was a couple of times when I was like, if we were in the UK, I'd totally be getting arrested right now, because that was not okay for me. Like, I feel violated, I feel assaulted, and that honestly, like the amount of internalized homophobia here is unreal. I mean, I've like seen or dated so many guys that have like one of them was like, when I went to Pride, I was like, do you want to come? I was like, because it's my first Pride. I was like, I'm excited to go, I've never been. I was like, do you want to come? He was like, I'm not gay. I'm like, pardon? I'm like,
what did we just do? Like,
I mean, if last night was anything to go by, I feel there is a definite inconsistency in your attitude towards this. But at the same time, like, it's super normal. It's like also bottom shaming is such a big thing here. Like my ex that I was with, one time was like, no, I'm a top. No, I'm a top. No, I'm a top. I'm like, fine, let's swap. No. I'm like kind of proving my point.
Yeah. But I would agree with internalized homophobia, because like I know, and I also want your opinion on this, because there are a lot of people who, let's say, and so if let's say a guy dates a trans woman, would you consider that guy gay?
Do you know what? That's something that I don't know enough about to really like comment. I wouldn't really like. Again, like sexuality can be fairly fluid. I mean, like to a degree. I mean, actually, in my research before I came out, I found out that being gay is genetic. Like it's a gene that's turned on or turned off at birth, and has a evolutionary purpose of being peacekeepers. Ironically, considering so many gay men are so unpeaceful. But the idea, that's the evolutionary reason. But the where were we?
Do you think guys who date trans women are gay?
I think I often get like DMs on Instagram from like, because I'm friendly when I'm out, like I'll dance with anyone, I'll drink with anyone, I'll make friends with anyone. I'm very like, why would you not? To the point where my friends think it's weird. I'm like, hey, I'm Zach. That was born of like when I first came to the Philippines and I had no friends. I was introverted and I had to learn to be extroverted to make friends here.
Yeah.
And I've kind of like, it's a skill that I learn and I value that because I can have a conversation with nearly anyone, even if there's a language barrier. I mean, there's a way of getting by. And but a lot of transgender women will ask me like, oh, are you attracted to trans? And like for me, I'm not. Like I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, I don't know, who knows, like at some point I may find that like I may be attracted to someone and that's okay. But the whole whether or not they're gay or not is like, I don't know. I think it would be easier if I was attracted to that, and then I would, whether I identify.
Would you? Because
I mean, I would say it's like fluid. I'm like my trans friends, like I refer to them as she. Unless like one of my friends is very like, I don't care. Like if I look like a guy, say he. If I look like a girl, because they're kind of non-binary. And that's another whole level of
That's
stuff.
a whole other thing.
I mean, like it's complicated, and it's also really not complicated.
It is what it is. Like
when my friend was like, if I look like a girl, refer to me as a girl. If I look like a guy, refer to me as a guy, or call me they.
Yeah.
And I was like, true. when you
when
put it like that, I mean, it makes it quite simple.
I mean, it makes it easier for you because you don't have to guess. You just have to just go with what you think.
Yeah, and also like ask. Also, like it's not hard.
Yeah.
Would you rather although like the whole like the pronoun thing has been like blown out of proportion beyond belief.
Yes.
I mean, it's like you kind of like, that's why like my friend, they were like, I'm not sensitive about it. Like, you're my friend. I know you don't mean any harm. Like everyone else needs to get over it. Like if it's my thing, then like I'll worry about it. Thanks. It's kind of a lot of people who it doesn't even affect, are like jumping on the bandwagon to like bash people about. It's like, get over it, man. If my friend's cool with it, you should be too.
Okay. Well, do you think in the Philippines that the gay community is accepted or is it tolerated?
Tolerated, not accepted. I mean, look at the church. They're literally told. That's why if it was accepted, there would be a lot less internalized homophobia.
Gotcha.
There would be a lot less people that like. I mean, I've heard the phrase "I sold my soul," and like genuinely believe they're going to hell just for who they are.
Oh.
And that's not, and they're not particularly religious either. They're not from a particularly religious family. I mean, that's not
uncommon.
It's not. I've not heard it once or twice. I mean, it's not a conversation you have unless you know someone relatively well.
Yeah.
But you also get a vibe from like, and like, I mean, if any of them are watching, they'd be like, no, I don't. But because that's a vulnerable conversation, I'm sure. But honestly, it's you get like I've had people verbalize that like I'm going to hell and like I'm an abomination and I'm a sin and they still go to church every week. I'm like, what? Some of them I'm like, why are you putting yourself through that?
Yeah. Same.
I
We have a lot
that.
of in high school because we went to high school and college here, and we had a lot of friends who were gay, and it was such a hard time for them coming out because they were so confused because they knew inside that they were gay, but family and like just like getting bullied and with the homophobia, like
Brutal,
So it's kind of like first they were like, okay, I'm bi, and they're like, no, I like girls, but it's really obvious that you're gay, and like. Well, so it was, I could see it.
The reason
like,
I asked is because, for example, let's say Nigeria, where we're from, I hadn't met any gay person in my life because it's just
Is it not accepted?
It's not
accepted
it's like
at all, right?
you can go to jail. That was back then. I'm not sure about now.
Yeah. So when I moved here, I was like, one of the first things I went to was like a Miss Gay competition. I was like, oh, okay. And if it's so like public, I was like, okay, maybe they're very accepting here. But then I was like, wait, are they though? Because like let's say we went to Dubai 3 months ago. You also don't see any gay people, right? Because it's not accepted. So I was like, so is it accepted here? Because there's just so many, or is it just tolerated?
I mean, I didn't grow up here, but from everything I've read and experienced and witnessed, I would say like in the news and stuff and like in the media, it's like, oh, it's so gay friendly in the Philippines. It's like, yes and no. You walk down the street like and there's a reason why a lot of there's I never understood LGBT bars or communal like spaces. I never really understood that before I came out, but now I totally get it, because it's a space where you know 100% you are the norm.
Yeah.
Which is like so nice, such a nice feeling.
Yeah.
You don't have to hide.
You can be yourself.
You're always going to be tolerated and
Yeah.
accepted. Even if like someone's not attracted to you, you can hit on them, and it's like it's the same as a heterosexual
Yeah.
and a guy hitting on a girl, and it not being received. Whereas like I'm not saying that always happens, because I'm sure there's lots of tolerant people, but if a gay guy's hitting on a straight guy, often, unless they're very secure in themselves, there's going to be some backlash of some kind. So, and like that is just, and like again, like the whole like hiding who you are, internalizing that you have to keep it hidden. Like when you hit an LGBT community space, like it's like such a big deal. Like I totally get it now.
Okay.
Of like safe space to be who you are.
Yeah.
I have a question relating to something you just said, where like, let's say a gay guy was hitting on a straight guy, there'd be backlash, right? I don't know if this is true for everyone, but some of the people that I know, like let's say like they meet a straight guy who's not into them, like they're trans or they're gay. When they find out that you know they're offended from being touched all the time by them, it feels like they take that badly, because they feel that they should have the same, they shouldn't have the reaction. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Do you mean who's reacting badly in that?
Oh,
The straight.
The straight guy, the trans or the gay person thinks that the straight guy is reacting badly, when the straight guy was very honest about it, and at least in our opinion most of the time, and was just like, hey, I'm being friendly with you, but it doesn't mean you should like flirt with it.
I'm flattered.
But don't like touch.
I mean, until you say, to a degree, there is like a bit of a weird fetish thing about like turning
a straight guy into
it's not my vibe at all. But I mean, like, I know lots and lots and lots of people, gay guys here, who like they say, I'm only into straight guys. I'm like, huh? I'm not sure our definitions of straight are the same.
It seems like a losing race.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, it's just a deluded race, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, like, the guys that, I mean, they do sleep with guys that say they're straight. I mean, that's a big, I mean, again, with like, gay is shameful, like, gay is wrong. That's like, a lot of guys say they're straight. It's like, even, like, and it's almost like an attractive trait, weirdly.
Even after, let's say they ask you like, oh, do you have a girlfriend? I'll be like, I do, I have a girlfriend. And they'll be like, ooh.
Doesn't mean much in the LGBT community, unfortunately.
It's like, it's somehow
challenge accepted.
It may be more attractive somehow. It may be more attractive somehow. Like,
that's legit true. Like, if you say you're not in a relationship, like, opposed to being in a relationship, you are deemed much more attractive when you're in a relationship.
So is it because there's a perceived value of someone else?
It's like, I guess it's like a challenge.
I think there's,
like, can I get the guy?
I think there's three elements. I think one, there's challenge accepted. Two, there is you are, and that's quite normal for everyone. Like in terms of you're attractive to other people, so you must be attractive. I mean, and that's like because. I read a lot about seduction also. Because seduction I find like interesting in terms of like it helps you in like every part of life. You're seducing someone is like making them agreeable, and it's like socially lubricating the world for you, so like you know how to have decent social skills. Basically, that's all seduction really is. If you choose to use it for like bad stuff, then that's not seduction's fault. but the one of the things you do to be seductive is to surround yourself with other attractive people, but never. It's like a seduction tactic where you flirt with lots and you surround yourself with lots and lots and lots of attractive people. You're not there, but you don't sleep with any of them, and then occasionally you'll sleep with one. and it's like, and you can make them, and it's like a psychology trick basically. I mean, I don't recommend it, but it definitely works. It definitely works.
Okay.
But
it makes them want you more.
if other people want something, naturally, it's like that's what marketing is. Like if lots of people have one thing, like everybody wants an iPhone because everybody's got an iPhone, and so that applies. So like if you're in a relationship, I think it elevates your desirability, and then also I think if you're in a relationship, you are emotionally safe because there's a lot of it won't ever work out because you're in a relationship. So emotionally, I'm safe to engage in this, which with toxic shame, that's why unavailable men are like very attractive. Like
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Do you guys agree with this as well?
No, because like it's the same thing with straight people technically. Like,
I think that's very true.
Yeah,
straight people
yeah.
also. I think that dynamic crosses over.
I think
really
it's
well.
for everyone, just like as humans.
Yeah,
all right.
definitely.
So Zach, I think the question of the day is: are you in a relationship?
Depends who's watching. I'm not in a relationship. No, I was in a relationship before, and classic me intellectualized it. So I was like, I'm clueless here. So I was like, I don't know how to do this well. So I researched it. I now actually do relationship coaching. So I was like, because I had to work so hard to try and figure out that particularly complicated human being who I was invested in, and then I still care about very much, but it's like they've got to do some work, and I've got to do some work independently, and whether or not, I mean, I don't imagine we'd ever be back together, but like it just wasn't the right time. Because sometimes, I mean, I've had like some really weird experiences here with people overly attaching. Like, I mean, stalk is a strong term. But I woke up one day and I'd forgotten to lock my door and somebody stood over me.
Oh my god! I think that's an understatement.
I was like, this is not okay. And they're like, but it's okay, I love you. I'm like, get out of my house now. Like, this is not a question. And they're like, can I? And they genuinely thought I was going to let them stay the night. And I was like, get out! Like, get out of my house. And then like 2 days later, 2.5 hours of knocking on the door, and I literally was sat in my bed going, please just go away, please just go away, please just go away.
Is this like Beetlejuice or something?
It was really like, it was sketchy.
You must be doing something good, Zach. Because like,
I'm saying stalker is a strong word.
I mean, I'm hesitant to use it, but I mean,
what
they
would
said
you
it.
call that?
Legit.
You think we're just overcome with emotion?
I don't
they just
know.
liked you that much.
Have you done that, Chase?
I don't know.
No. What?
You did there, bro.
It was, yeah. I was very uncomfortable. If you want them to go away, be clingy.
Text them every day like,
be totally available and
Don't go
emotionally
out.
healthy, and they will run a mile.
10 ways to lose a guy.
You learned that from here, folks. Well, I really, like this has been really cool. Like it taught me a lot too. Just again with the LGBT community, because I would say like I'm fairly ignorant myself with a lot of things. So it's always nice to have these conversations, with someone in the community. So thank you, Zach, for guesting and just for sharing your experience very transparently.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. And again, if you guys enjoyed this video, just don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment.